Welcome to Live, Love, and Marry Wiser, where our mission is in our name. We are on hiatus for our live programs, but we will return on January 16th with season 4. We are excited about what we have already in store for you next season. This episode is Afterwise, the conversation after the conversation, and it is with the wives talking more about marriage and relationships and just love. I hope that you enjoy this. It's more casual, what we talk about behind the scenes, and I hope that you grow and learn and get some more out of it and just maybe even some laughs. If you don't mind, like, share, subscribe, and comment on these videos so that we can get the word out to everyone about the content that we are creating here. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy the episode.
Right to the ladies, but somebody else is here to say hello to you, ladies.
Yeah. Who goes there?
Hey, ladies.
Hey,
How you doing?
good. How are you doing?
I was doing all my runs today to pick up the girls because they had hair appointments. So
Oh,
but I watch and listen. I don't have a YouTube account, so I was like, I tried to comment, and it was like, you need an account.
yeah.
Oh, right.
So,
Yes, you do. You do.
yeah. So great show.
Thank
Lorraine, I didn't tell you this, but Onita told me last week. She was like, this is a PG rated. So orgasm is kind of pushing PG rated. So that's why I didn't say anything last week about that. When he was like, the guys didn't say. I try to do analogies. Hopefully the kids don't pick up the analogy.
Oh, you had some good analogies.
Yeah.
You had some good analogies. I think we got the point, but it was just funny that Sandra just came out with it. So I was just like, okay, let's go there.
Sandra didn't hear that it was rated. It was PG.
So
Onita was listening in the car last week, and she had all the kids in there. So
yeah,
I didn't want VJ running around at the school next to orgasms.
true. That is
Because he knows he has a keen sense on knowing what he's not supposed to say, and he says it. So
That's funny. Do, right?
yeah, you guys did a great job today. I can't wait till Friday when we have both of us together.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited about that. Are there things that you think we should talk about specifically when you all are both together? We don't want to rehash the same old stuff. We want
Right. Yeah.
Just things that you think that aren't talked about a lot that we should bring up. I haven't prepared the questions for Friday yet, but I'd love to get your input.
I think conflict resolution is a great one.
Okay.
I'm taking my answers.
I think we kind of touched upon it, but I think as the relationship evolves, what are your new go-tos? Like if you're maturing in a relationship, it can't be always, hey, I'm sorry, but you could keep repeating what you're doing. So it's like, okay, well, what are you sorry for?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I'm sorry because you're upset. Well, why am I upset? You keep doing the same thing, getting the same result. That's insanity, right? Expecting a different result. So I think conflict resolution, and I think for 5.5, for 24, and for 36, it should look different.
Mm-hmm.
And we can learn from each other on some best practices of how to resolve it. Because with Onita and I, as you add more variables, meaning people, into the mix, you have things that work and school work, and Onita's doing a play right now, so she got like 40 other kids that are variables.
85.
And then like you guys touched upon, if I made the bed that morning, I'm expecting like it's like, wait a minute, I'm now competing with 90 people.
Down. What you talking about?
Yeah, like I turned the TV off before you came up here, so you can't be like, oh, I thought you was watching the game. So, I think the most important thing that Onita and I take away is we love to laugh and we love to enjoy. So I think that helps you. Like Sandra has said numerous times, you got to find what works for your couple, right? You can't just blanket statement and just say, well, you should do this. And no, you gotta talk to each other, and you gotta figure out what each of us likes and dislikes. and then grow from that.
What'd you say,
That,
Tanya?
that changes in the journey. I'm not the same person. I mean, I'm 58. I'm not the same person that I was at 22.
Yeah.
When I got married, you know.
Yeah.
And the love languages can change, or we can add some more things to it, and
Yeah.
Yeah, mine ain't
For
changed
sure.
yet.
we gotta
Yeah.
move.
I wanted to ask you, is there some one time we're talking about things that we should talk about on Friday when you all are together, and Victor mentioned conflict resolution. Is there anything that you think that you would like to hear us? I mean, we're gonna ask whatever y'all want us to ask. We'll come up with other stuff too, but anything that you think, any topics you think we should talk about on Friday? And Sandra, I'll ask you the same question as well.
I think conflict resolution is great because that, to me, that's the umbrella for a lot. Like I mentioned earlier about forgiveness and sacrifice, and not having to always be right or prove your point, or so that's huge. That's the umbrella for so much in a relationship, because that goes in my opinion, like love is like, that's gonna sound weird, like it goes beyond love, but I mean there's like wisdom that has to be a part of the equation, right? Because love is so, what's the word? Or people can use it so, what am I trying to say?
People make it so trivial.
Well, it's like what is love? It's a verb, it's a principle, it's a feeling, it's you know what I mean? Like it's so much more than that, because Miles Monroe, I remember saying that, and we talk about this quite often in the marriage thing that we do, about that he had counseled so many couples in his 30 years or whatever that said, "Oh, I love Bobby, but I can't live with him anymore." Or I love, I love her. I'll always love Jennifer, but, and so it's so much more than just that love piece, right? And and so it's bigger than that. And I know that sounds crazy because God is love and we understand that, and so but it's just more.
Yeah, but God is love didn't stop with the scripture saying God is love.
Correct.
Demonstration of his covenant faithfulness throughout the whole Bible. And so when you get to God is love all the way in John, that has been demonstrated. That's just almost stating a well-known fact, because it has been demonstrated throughout the whole Bible. And when you understand it correctly, obviously there are parts that you're just like, what you did what? But but when you understand it correctly, then you're just like, oh wow, he is. And so I think that that's exactly right. When people are like, oh, but we still love each other. Okay, so then tell me what happened to the covenant. Like, how are you breaking the covenant if you still love each other? And what is that? What did the covenant mean? Because the covenant isn't love. You can love someone and never make a covenant with them. You just be like, oh, I love that person or whatever. But the covenant is a commitment of action and behavior and choices that then demonstrate, oh, I love this person in a different way, even than I love that person or that my friends or my, all of that. So yeah, so we're gonna talk about that.
I was going to say what I didn't get to share tonight, and what we'll probably allude to do more Friday night, because we brought it up in particular with asking some of the names of the podcasts or the books or things we read to kind of help along the marriage. So I wrote those down. So make sure to send them to you ahead of time. So they can post them on the link.
Yes, please
as
do
well
that.
to have.
There were no podcasts back in the day.
Well, yeah.
Exactly.
No, we didn't have podcasts and all this stuff, and therapy was a taboo. You talking about sex was a taboo?
Hey, girl.
Therapy was a taboo.
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember asking Tommy, you know, if we run into, because like we didn't even have like premarital counseling for real. So like I remember asking him, if we run into a bad spot, or should we, you know, can we go to counseling? Is that a thing? Well, should we go to therapy? And he was like, nah. He was like, nope. And I was like, just like that. He was like, right, nope. He said, because if we can't thug it out and work it out with Jesus, he said it won't meant to be. And he meant that thing. And I was just like, well, gosh.
He meant that thing.
He did. You know, that was like he meant. I asked him down the road later. I said, what if I had said to you when you proposed, what if I had said, you know, Anita, you were talking about like on TV and you ran out the house and you thought Vic was going to come running behind you and he did not. And so I had asked Tommy, what would you have done if I had have said, I need time to think about it, like when he proposed? What would you have done? And I said, would it have been okay? He said, if I asked you to marry me and your answer was, let me think about it. He said, I would have said to you, okay, take all the time you need. He said, and you would never see me again. And I was like, what? I said, you would have just given up like that? He said, well, what would you have had me do? What I would have had to convince you? What I would have had to wine you a little more? I would have had to buy you more flowers. I had to give you a bigger ring. What would if you weren't as sure about me and you as I was about me and you at the time? He said, then I would have been like, that's it. I was like, dang, I'm so glad I said yes. He said, I'm glad too.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Like, but that's a huge commitment.
Because it is, but you've already been thinking about it when you know it's the right person. They just haven't asked you yet.
Right.
You already ready to say yes. They just haven't, you just waiting for them to ask you. When you say you have to think, when a woman says she has to think about it, she is not into you, bruh. Like, she just not.
I guess that was his.
Not.
I didn't necessarily agree with that, but
But you said yes, so you made your calling an election sure.
Sure, exactly.
Do you guys think was like the decision to move forward, was it an intellectual decision or was it a spiritual decision or was it like did your gut tell you go forward with this thing? Like what was it speaking to you that says yes, this is it? Like Onita kind of got yours, you know what I mean? You had an angel come out of a boarded up building. But Sandra, Raquel, what was it?
Well, can your gut be connected to your spirit?
I actually believe they're the same, actually, yes. Well, I believe that they can be the same. I believe the Holy Spirit speaks through our gut instincts.
I know
that's
there's
my
supposed
belief,
to be
but I don't know. What do you think?
A gut-brain connection. I'm like, is it? All I know is
she just don't know. She knew, but she just don't know.
Yeah, because if somebody had told me, I'm just telling you, it was crazy. Because I almost, y'all, and I didn't share this part, I almost went out to the park that day on a bet. Like, I was taking a break from a guy.
Okay, come on.
Like I was walking away from a relationship that was based on lies and was toxic, right? Mm-hmm. And I just remember finding out about the band playing, and this guy was like, I better not see you out there type thing. And I was just that chick. I was just that one. Like, well, I'm going. And what? And it was like that. So, and then here I am with my cousins, and they posted up the girls, and just like, and then Tommy walked by, and I was just like, oh. So and just something happened. Now I never ran into the old guy who was like, yeah, you better not type thing. But I mean, who knew? I thought I was just, and then my husband was there.
God put those words in his mouth.
Exactly.
You know?
His spirit saw yours.
So it's just bizarre. And they knew each other. The guys, I didn't know that they knew each other. They was like kind of from the same neighborhood, and they kind of settled it on the basketball court later. And I didn't know any of that till, after we were married, and Tommy came home and was like, I saw your boy. Like, oh my God.
Like, you my boy. What are you talking about?
Yeah. So anyway, so I don't know. Just, God did a thing.
Yeah.
And from the time we met, he was just like this.
Just locked it.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Raquel, what about you?
I feel like mine was a little bit of everything, like spiritual and emotional. With like the emotional side, like I said, like when I got that first call, like an immediate spark was just like, oh, wait a minute, what is this? What's going on over here? And then another thing that I never mentioned. So when we went on our first date, it was at the Gaylord Palms. They do like this ice thing, and he asked me out on this date very properly. And then towards the end of the date, no one has ever done this, and this was like another thing that just added on to the flame. He looked at me, he's like, can I kiss you? And I was like, huh? What? And like, I've never had a guy that would just like, is it all right to kiss you? And then I was like, yeah, absolutely. And so eventually he later told me the reason why, because he worked with campus ministries, and so they were always adamant about like the whole, I think it's like Title IX thing. So he's like, I'm not trying to be one of those kids and like the whole Title IX thing, but I don't know, that was like, I've never had someone ask to kiss me. And I was like I at that point, even though I had known him for 4 years, I had never met his parents. And so in my head I was like, man, his parents raised him right, because he is polite, he is caring, he is loving. Like he would open the door and do this. So it's like these small little acts of kindness that I've never received from any guy before, that I was just like, wow, oh my gosh. And but then like for like the spiritual side, at that point in my life, I was trying to like get back being right with the Lord. So like I was coming out of high school, and so I wanted to change that mentality. It's like, okay, now is my time to connect more with God. And so then came along Theo major, and I was like, okay, this could be a good thing. But in my head, I was like, I don't really want to marry a pastor. But little did I know, my grandmother never told me that until she met Ben, that she had been praying for me to marry a pastor, and I had no idea until she told me, he's the one you're getting married. And so like once all of that, like it's like God started placing them one by one after the other, and I didn't see it until like a little bit down the road. But I was like, I immediately knew, like by the time he went back to Southern in January for his spring semester, I had told him, I was like, I think I love you. And I just had a deep, like, I just knew it. I just knew it. From the small little act of kindness, from like us talking and hanging out, and him asking my dad to date me on Christmas Day, first time he came over the house. And I'm like, mind blown. Like, first he calls me, and he asks it to kiss me, and now he's asking my dad's permission to date me. So like by the time he left, I was like, Ben, I think I love you. And so when he left, like I was crying. I was like genuinely crying. I was like, what is going on with me? I'm a different person right now. So it was a little bit of both spiritual, emotional. Spiritual, I guess I didn't really mention that, but because I'd been praying so hard to find a guy that would like help strengthen my love for Jesus even more and understand Jesus more. Cause like I grew up in like a Brazilian conservative household. And so I felt like I was going to church because I was forced to go and not because I wanted to go. And then so with Ben, as I started to date him throughout the months, I started like seeing God with a different lens. I started seeing him as not like a fearful, loving God, but like more like a God that loves you and that has grace and stuff like that. So my walk started growing with Ben as well, because he was teaching me these stuff that I never saw it that way, because I would see it another way, in a different lens. So yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So can I be nosy real quick though? When you said I think I love you, what did he say?
I think he was shocked because, you know, like maybe he probably thought it was kind of crazy, because I think he did say it back, but he probably thought it was a little crazy because at that point we had been dating for 2 months. We had been talking for 4 months. And you know, but at that point I had already met his parents. And when we were saying our final goodbyes before he left for Southern, I was at his parents' house. And he didn't tell me this until later, but his mom, because I was like helping him pack his stuff, and his mom told him, like, Ben, I can see that this girl loves you. Like, you could see it in her face that she loves you. And so like, yeah, and so it's just like these small little stuff. And so yeah, so he did say I love you back before he went to Southern. So obviously from there on we were like all giddy and like, oh my gosh, you know. Yeah.
Oh, it's so awesome. I feel like nobody was for me and Tommy. Nobody. My mom was like
to be for you though, right?
Say again?
Everyone came around at some point, right?
I mean, once they got to know him, but just in the beginning, because of the age difference.
Yeah.
Him being married, having a child, and I was right out of college. You were like, so nobody was like.
I mean, I can sort of understand what they were.
You know, they were just. Yeah, and
you have to be open.
Yeah.
One of my girlfriends said that women, they said before the guy who says I love you, sometimes we've had the wedding plan, like we know what color dress our bridesmaid are going to wear and everything. Before you even get to that point, you kind of like see it, you kind of know. And I hadn't told Victor I love him yet, but I was getting ready to leave to go to what's called Washington Evidence University, but at the time it was Columbia Union. I was getting ready to leave, and I already knew I loved him. We already been dating. I don't think I said it yet. But we had talked about marriage. We talked about kids and all that. So I kind of knew we were thinking it, but we didn't want to be the one to say it first. And so literally my aunt was on the way to come get me. She was like 5 minutes away. And then he goes, I was like, all right, well, I'm about to leave for school. And da-da-da. He was like, I was like, so yeah, I almost tried to pull it out of him. He was like, you know I love you. You know I love you. And I was like, oh, thanks. I was like, well, why do you wait? So then he even said, so why don't you change your mind and stay here and go to VCU? And I was like, no, I can't do that. I'm going. I'm going. But I was like, why are you holding out so long? Like, you should have been told me. Because I knew it way before then. I knew it before then. You should have been told me. And his mom was so funny. His mom had came down from New York, and I was outside because one thing we did with our dad a lot was, especially on the weekends, every Sunday we would wash his car by hand. And so that was just something we did. And so he needed his car washed. His siblings were there. It was hot outside. And I was like, oh, I'll do it. Let's go. I'll go out there. So me and his siblings were out there washing his car. And his mom said to him, Victor, that girl's out there washing your car. She must really love you. And she told him that. He didn't tell me that at the time because Victor likes to come out later with stuff because he got to be the back in all of this. Okay. He later told me that story that his mom was like, she loves you because by me doing that. So one thing I would say that I've noticed here too in our conversations, and that I try to tell our girls, my grandma used to say, a woman's heart should be so buried in God that a man has to pursue God to find it. But particularly in this culture where I believe in women's rights and we can do whatever a man does, but I still think some of the healthy relationships I've seen, I can't say them all, but the men was the pursuer. And I think when you, this is my own personal belief, when you take that from the man, when you start pursuing him and becoming kind of the man in the relationship, it will continue to happen in the relationship longer for other things where you as the woman are looking for him to lead in certain areas. But if you are the one pursuing him, asking him out on a date, doing all those things that the men normally used to do traditionally, but with as far as courting becomes, I've seen marriages where later they're mad because they're always being the one to lead, make the decision, trying to see how they're going to pay bills and everything. The woman is still doing that. And then we started talking, we asked, kind of about the relationship early on. She goes, well, I remember when I first asked him out, and I'm like, not a bad thing, but I'm like, I've seen it. Not that this always is the fail safe, but what I'm saying to my girls, let the guy pursue you. Because it called me old school in that, but I think they should. And also I feel, and my girl used to say this too, we kind of fall in love faster. So if you're having to already pursue him, the work is going to be more on you, because it's natural for us. We're naturally wired to nurture and want to love and to take care of a person. But if he's not even trying to do that for you, then it's going to be much more harder in the relationship with them.
Yeah. You just made me think about, Tommy asked me.
And just let me say, whenever you have to go, I'm going to need to go shortly because I'm supposed to technically be in board meeting. But
I just remember him asking me about, I was like, you set up these little things, like the whole, if you had a pause, I would have walked out of your life. But he said, so what do you think about living together? And I said, no, I can't. I don't do that. I wasn't raised that way. I can't do that. I said, you want us to live together? And he was like, no. And if you had told me yes, then you weren't the woman that I thought you were. I wouldn't want you.
You got all these little tests on
little booby traps? What are you doing? He was just like testing me. I didn't know. I was just like being myself. I was telling the truth. And I was like, oh gosh, is he asking me to live and I can't do it. My mama gonna kill me.
Thing. That is
my mama gonna kill me.
Everyone was just being themselves. And and who you are is who they wanted.
Yes.
Not what you pretended to be.
Right.
That's so important. I love that.
And I love to
that's master.
Right. But I love just sharing that you're sharing that too, because it shows that he still was a man of integrity, that he had, and that men do have value system too, that they're looking for. Like Renee, you mentioned that with Lorraine's sermon. Like, are you sure you're the person that he's looking for, that you're supposed to be? Because men too have a value system. They're looking for a woman of certain sustenance. Right. I mean, plenty of
times with him having a son, having sole custody of his son, that was important to him. So
absolutely.
Yeah, it's funny.
All right, my friends. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed that episode and even got a few laughs. Thank you for watching, and we will be back on January 16th, and we hope that you will be there with us. Until next time, make choices that will help you live, love, and marry wiser. God bless.